What's up, everyone? Happy October. Welcome. This is airing October 1st, so we're in the pumpkin spice season, Zachary. Welcome to Recipe for Reality. We are the cooks of the reality kitchen, and we have a shit ton to talk about today. We're not going to talk about each show that premiered this week in depth, because there are some shows we just don't cover on this, like Hell's Kitchen that just premiered this week, and Kitchen Nightmares. There's also shows that we kind of fell off on, like Bachelor in Paradise, which also premiered this week. And then there's shows that we have not covered in like a month, like Big Brother, shows that just started, like Survivor, Amazing Race, Dancing with the Stars. I mean, this is the most jam-packed week of reality television ever, Zach. And how are you feeling about it all?
Overwhelmed. It's
Yeah.
probably the most what's it called? It's probably the most jam-packed schedule we've ever had while recording this show. And the thing about that is
Are you tapping your microphone?
oh no, I guess I was tapping something on the computer, but I can't believe you heard that.
I wonder if your input is different, because it's like, yeah, it sounds like you're like tapping my ears. It's nice. It's like a nice little ASMR thing. It's like it's raining outside, but it's okay.
You know what? It totally is. So let's do this. No, we're not going to do anything because I don't want it to. I don't want it to be. It doesn't matter.
All right.
So
if you have to type, just mute yourself. But no, it's
right.
Fine. We love the technical difficulties a minute in.
It's a jam-packed schedule.
Yeah.
It's a jam-packed schedule. I mean, when we started this channel, we were really only reviewing one show at a time. You know, we were doing Big Brother for like a little bit, and then it would be Survivor, and then it would be a little bit
Bachelor.
of Amazing Race, and then it would be Bachelor, but this is like,
well, because CBS used to do, your summer's Big Brother, then your fall and your spring or Survivor. But now, because of the writer's strike that is now ended, yay. But because they had nothing being written and coming out, they needed to like push everything and like fill their fall time slot. So they need to push Big Brother later. And now we're getting all three at once, all three CBS shows. Plus then ABC has to push Bachelor to the same point as Dancing. So now you have Dancing on Tuesdays, Bachelor on Thursdays, Bachelor in Paradise on Thursday nights after Bachelor, and then you've also got Monday Night Football, which is why they can't do anything on Mondays. It's just such a jam-packed thing, but it's fun for reality TV buffs like you and I. Now, we did not, Zach didn't get to watch Dancing with the Stars yet, so I will not, we won't go through each dance and say how they did. Next week, we will cover that and kind of go through each couple. But I did want to update our game because we both had Matt and Coco in the same spot. We had them in the 13th spot. So how the games work for this An Amazing Race is we start at 14, and depending on how far off we were, we will subtract 1, 2, 3. So we were one spot off. So 14 minus 1 is 13. So we're both tied with 13 points apiece. But let's say Allison and Sasha are the next boot. They are 12 away from where Zach has them and 11 away from where I am. So, like, I'll get an extra point there. So that's how that scoring will work. We're kind of in unanimous agreement with a lot of the couples, but had some different takes preseason. But I think already we'll see some of these things start to shift as the season goes on. But next week, we'll talk about scores in depth. I want to shift over to Amazing Race because this requires a little less conversation as well. We also had the siblings in the same spot at 12. So we are getting 13 points there as well. Or sorry, 12 points there because there are only 13 people. And yeah, we kind of both predicted they'd be early boots. Didn't expect them to be the first boot. I had the ladies in pink, I called them, and Zach had the married couple. And funny enough, the married couple was the first place team this week, which is very fun. And the second place team, we both have at 11, Rob and Corey, the father-son duo. So I think our reads were a little off, but it's still going to be fun to see because every leg can be different. Brief thoughts, because Amazing Race doesn't involve a lot of strategy, so we can be brief about it. But brief thoughts on the Amazing Race premiere. Did you like it? Did you like this 90-minute format? And do you like these teams?
Yeah, I mean, I like all of them. It's not, there's not too much to say. I feel like the first episode of any show is like, it's an introduction. You get to like some of the teams, you get to know a little bit more about them, but aside from that, I mean, it's not very telling yet as to like how the rest of the season is going to go. Amazing Race is also one of those shows that things aren't automatically determined by that things aren't automatically just determined by the first episode. You're right. Survivor, people kind of latch on to each other for alliances. Big Brother, it's sort of the same thing. Bachelor, you have front runners. This is not really that because every leg is different.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so because every leg is different, like yes, the married couple won this one, but that does not necessarily mean that they are on the same trajectory to win out for the rest of the season. As long Amazing Race is one of those shows that I feel like as long as you're still in come the episode after, you stand a good chance to win.
Yeah, and especially
Until you
this
start
season,
teetering off.
also they're returning to the old school way of you have to book your own flights. This is something that they did away with, I think 10 or 20 even seasons ago, because we're on 35 now. I think it's been about 20 seasons where the show would book flights for you, and it would be like the first 5 teams are on this flight, the next 5 teams are on this flight, or they would say you're all on the same flight, and it kind of became an equalizer to where now they're having it where you have to book your own flights now. And I thought that was such an interesting introduction to this new era of having the teams at the airport, and like you were the fifth team there, you got there with everyone else. It's just the first 4 teams were the only 4 that could get on that first flight, and I think that adds such a cool element. The fact that they have to book their own travel now, it's not an easy game anymore, and with non-elimination legs gone, like you really have this really kind of raw,
which we're
old school way
thankful
of
for.
Amazing Race.
We're
Yes.
we're thankful for.
Yes,
It's
because
not
that
that the
COVID season, we
non
got so many
so
non-elimination,
many.
like so many returning competitors. Now it's just you lose, you're out, and I kind of like that. Really quickly though, we do like to on Recipe for Reality talk about which of the 2 detours we would have liked to do, and this one was getting a massage to the point where it hurt so bad, or learning this Tai Chi combination. Now, as theater performers, I think we would have done great with the Tai Chi because we're good at memorizing choreography and stuff like that, but it is so intricate and it is time consuming. You have to learn something and do it. Whereas the massage thing, it's just, here's your time. It's like, what, it was 15 minutes? And it's like, all you have to do
Right.
is not stop the masseuse. But for that to be that easy, like getting a massage for 15 minutes, it must have been that painful. So,
It must
Zach,
have been that
which one would
painful.
you have picked if you had the choice?
I probably would have picked the Tai Chi because the problem for me with the massage is that it is a guaranteed 15 minutes, whereas the Tai Chi doesn't necessarily take you 15 minutes. It could be a little bit shorter. Problem is, it could also be a little bit longer, right? You chance that when you do something like that. But I think, like you said, I think we'd be good at the Tai Chi, so I'm not as worried about it.
Yeah, we did see though the eliminated pair was because they did the Tai Chi, it took them longer, but it's because they had to do a bunch of tries. And I think that's the thing with Tai Chi though, is if you're presented with the card of do this massage in 15 minutes or do this Tai Chi combination, you don't know necessarily how intricate the Tai Chi is going to be. We have seen it and we know we could probably sail through it, but not knowing, I probably would have gone the massage just because it's like you're getting a massage. Yes, it could be painful, but like so is running across the globe. Like there's a lot of pain going on. It might be nice to get a massage because then you're also like kind of loosened up for the rest of the race. I would have done that because yes, it's guaranteed you're going to be there for 15 minutes, but like as long as there are other teams with you, like you know you're going to be keeping pace. Whereas the Tai Chi, you don't know how fast everyone's going, and once you hit that 15-minute mark, then boom, you're out kind of. So very interesting. And then there was the roadblock was one person had to go on that like almost like zip liney thing. Who would have done that between the two of us, Zach?
Probably me.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
I was gonna say I'm not the biggest heights person, so I think it would have been.
I think I would have been able to handle it.
But I do think that puzzle was so easy. City of Angels, because like Los Angeles, that's what it translates to, the Angels.
Right.
But I think it's one of those things that in the moment you're not necessarily thinking that like, oh, it has to do with Los Angeles.
Right.
But it was great to see Derek and Claire there as well. So that is the Amazing Race recap. Any other thoughts on the Amazing Race? I got to say I have a new favorite team. I don't know if they're gonna win. They did come in second though, and that is Rob and Corey. I know we have them at 11th, but like I love them. And
yeah, but they're fun. It doesn't matter if they're.
I thought the deafness was going to be a hindrance, but it really isn't. Like he's able to communicate very well, and in fact, they're going to get in less arguments, I think, because of it. And I think as long as he has that translator, that interpreter to interpret what they're saying, like I think he's going to do really well. I think they're going to do really well.
Yeah, I would be shocked to not see them do well. No, I thought it was a good premiere. I love seeing Derek and Claire in anything. DX and Claire is just one of the best parts of the Amazing Race. Put Claire on Survivor, you cowards.
Yeah, well, I have to do all 3 first, and then she can do it. Because if she goes on Survivor, she will have to.
Oh, that's right.
So, and that's my dream. So, Claire and Derek have to wait a few years for me to do all 3, and then they can do Survivor.
Fair.
Speaking of, do you want to go to Survivor next or Big Brother next? I mean, it's been a while since
Big
Brother, but Survivor's
like,
so hot and fresh. What do you want to do?
I feel like we should talk Survivor, because it will not take us nearly as long, and it's very fresh. And then Big Brother might take us The last
Yeah,
time
with
we
Big Brother,
spoke
we're
was
covering Hisam's eviction. Yeah, we're covering a
yeah.
lot for Big Brother.
We're covering a lot, but simultaneously nothing at all. You know what's crazy about that is that we're
Right.
covering a lot, but
You're
we're
right.
simultaneously
Yeah.
covering absolutely nothing.
Yeah, let's do Survivor though. I thought this premiere for the first what it was a 90-minute premiere. I thought the first 80 minutes were absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
I love the editing. It almost felt old school because you had 90 minutes. Like you kind of got an intro for every character. I feel like every character got to speak. There's no one I say character, but you know what I mean. They are
Every
characters, but
every
every
person got
person, every
their
castaway
moment.
got their moment exactly. Even the ones who did the least, I would say like Jay Maya and Julie and Brando still got something. Like Brando showed that maybe he's not as smart as he thought he was, or Jay Maya realized that she was out here pursuing this dream, and Julie with the lying about being an attorney. Like I thought everyone had their moment, even though some moments were bigger than others. And I also felt like, despite the blue and red tribe being kind of like the very clear on paper favorites, I still think they did a good job editing them to show if they
That
were to
it's not as
lose,
clear cut.
here's who the outsiders are if they lose. Like if the red loses, we got a lot of Drew, and I feel like Drew is someone who could have longevity or be out early because he got so much. I don't know, but we also saw Sifu trying to play a Tony Vlachos
Seafood,
game,
yeah.
hiding in the bushes and getting caught. And what does that mean? We saw Austin find an idol clue, but he doesn't get his vote until he finds the idol. So he has to go on a scavenger hunt. That's another thing that I love that they're bringing back. That's like the old school idea of you have to actually like search for idols now. You can't just find an idol. You have to find a clue, which will lead you to another
Right.
clue, which will lead you to another clue, which will lead you to the idol. That's the Suri era of Survivor. And then on Blue, we saw that, Bruce was, I don't want to be the leader. I want to be the fun uncle, not the dad. And then immediately starts bossing people around because he has been there before for a few hours, but hasn't been through the building of a shelter phase. And then you also see Jake and Katurah. Katurah's a lawyer who didn't tell anyone. Jake's a lawyer who told everyone. And now Katurah and the rest of the tribe wants to get out Jake. And I love that conversation of Jake and Katurah talking where Katurah's like, what's it like being a lawyer? What kind of attorney are you? All these like dumb questions when she's also a lawyer. I thought that was amazing. So we've seen great moments on both tribes that are winning, and I think they will continue winning. The focus was very much on yellow. Yellow is a hot mess tribe. We'll get into it, and I think they're going to keep losing and losing and losing. But
Yeah.
as we predicted, but I think they did a good job showing who the outliers on blue and red could be, being Jake and Bruce on blue and being Sifu on red. That being said, an idol can change anything. The game shifts like crazy. I don't think we're too far off for predicting Jake as a final three person. You predicted him as a winner. I predicted him as number two because he is also a focal point. Like these characters or
Right.
these personas, there's a reason they get the edits they do. So I think it's going to be exciting to see those two tribes. Before we get into the messiness of yellow, what were your thoughts on the blue and red tribe dynamics? Any standouts for you on those tribes?
I mean, the Sifu blunder is huge. It's like it's probably one of the quintessential like things you just don't do day one. Like
Well, things you just don't do. There's a reason the only person who's ever been able to spy on people like this is a two-time winner, and no
Right.
one else has even tried. And those who've tried have failed, like Tony did in his second run. He played 3 times. The first and third time he won. Second time he tried it and it failed because people caught him. And I think that's the thing with Sifu. Luckily, I think Sifu is still strong enough to where his tribe, if they lose, will say we need him for strength. But I think it's interesting that like he got caught and really didn't know what to say. He just kind of laughed it off. And luckily he's got a good infectious laugh and smile. But I thought that was a really interesting moment because it's
well,
like,
and no
he
one,
was like,
not a
I'm playing
single,
Tony.
not a single person believes him. Not a single person buys into it. They're like, yeah,
Right.
you're just.
He's like, I thought that was just gonna be funny. I was gonna play a joke on you. And
You're,
like,
you're fooling around on day. You're fooling around on day one. Yeah, okay, man. I don't know about that.
Meanwhile,
So
Austin's also fooling around, but doing it so discreetly, no one realized he got a clip.
and I think that might be for us probably one of the hardest reads of the season that I don't think we necessarily got wrong, but something that maybe we weren't thinking about well enough is that Austin seems to be a good enough player that not only is he savvy and strong, he is very good with every single person. He's able to kind of like fade into the background for a little bit, kind of put himself out in front, talk to what he knows that he doesn't have his vote, but he has such a good placement that like it's not a necessity that he needs it right now. It's going to become hard when a vote is missing, but the likelihood that tribe goes to tribal pretty low.
Right. I think by the time he has to go to tribal, he will have already found the idol. I think the
Right.
hardest part is going to be because the piece of paper he gets has like a few symbols on it that when you hold it up next to the flag, it will spell out a phrase. But he has to do that. He has to go in plain sight and find this
Right.
flag. I think his best bet would be to wait till like nighttime or wait till
Right.
everyone's in the water and then do it there. But I really don't know how you go up and hold something up to a flag. So that's going to be the big challenge. And I really don't know when he's
Yeah.
going to be able to do it, how he's going to be able to do it. And
Um,
that's going to be the fun of this advantage or disadvantage.
Kendra playing a little too hard right off the bat, in my
You think so?
opinion.
Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Listen, you don't start throwing out names until you have to. That's my philosophy, Survivor wise. I don't think you start throwing out names until you have to. I have a feeling she's gonna be my Jamie this season, where I'm like, I don't want her here anymore, and she's like, we're all Sagittarius, we're all this,
I
so we
love that,
need to
though.
work. Oh no, it drives me. Well, you loved Caitlyn on BB20, and that was
I did.
very similar. For me, I look at it and I'm like, well, and I'm curious now. I'm curious now about how Katurah feels about it fully. Like, we saw her be like, this is why I told everyone that I was an art teacher, because this is what happens. But I'm curious how Katurah actually feels about it, because listen, sure, it keeps her safe, but if they're willing to get rid of one lawyer, if she slips or they for some reason someone finds out, I mean, she's done for. You know what I mean? Like, she has put herself in a unique enough position that actually I think it would probably benefit her more to keep Jake and get rid of someone like Kendra early on, so that if things come out, and she can also kind of go to Jake and be like, listen, I'm also a lawyer.
Right.
And people are trying to get you out because you're one. So let's do this.
The only difference with that is I think Kendra still, despite, like, I do think she will be targeted early by the guys in the tribe, but I think, when you're given an alliance that early of 3 people on a 6-person tribe, I just don't know why you would go back on that, where I think that's why Kendra will be okay, is because Kelly and Katurah, why would they turn on her so soon? Because they have the numbers, they might as well use it, and then all they have to pull over is Brando to get out one of the bigger guys. Now, the thing is, I agree with you. I don't think Jake is the one who's going to go. They said it in this episode, like, Jake is the one we want to target, but that is also Kendra's words, and I agree. Katurah and Kelly, I think, will both say, you know what, I think we need Jake here, A, for strength, and B, to kind of hide behind, because he is this lawyer. He is kind of that easy person if you're going to the merge to hide behind, because he is so vocal. He's got that big accent. He's great. He's theatrical. He's a theater teacher. I think Bruce is the one who's in trouble on that tribe, and I'll tell you why.
Which is crazy, because we didn't think he was going to be, but I agree with you.
We thought he might go around the merge point because he's this big focal point of the season, being this returnee, and we both said, like, playing before for 12 hours isn't really an advantage. And I think this showed that it is a disadvantage, because now you have people, we'll talk about Yellow in a sec. I know I've held off on them, but like Emily, who's immediately targeting him vocally, saying, well, he does have experience. He was here before. He's lying. You can't kid yourself, all this stuff. And Bruce now is getting that heat. And yes, he could play it off well, but then when you go to your tribe and your beach and you start bossing around people, then they're like, maybe you are more equipped for this than all of us because you've been here before. Now, I get what he's saying, because palm fronds, I've heard in every interview, you don't need to weave palm fronds. They don't do anything. They don't keep the rain out. They do nothing. You may as well just stack them on top of one another. Weaving them like a basket doesn't help. And he's right for that. But I think he should have just kind of bit his tongue and done it, instead of saying, I wouldn't do this. Because, like, if you're, especially after saying you don't want to be the boss, if you want to own it, then say, I want to be the captain of this tribe. I want to lead you to victory. I'll give a tip. Don't do palm fronds like that. That would be different. But after you just say, I don't want to be the boss, I want to be your fun Uncle Bruce, then to immediately do that, I think is a bit of a blunder. But again, I don't think these tribes are losing. So it's like, I don't necessarily know who's in trouble, but I really think if they lose, I think they'd rather keep Jake than Bruce ultimately at the end of the day. Then you also have Brando, who we both said he was your first boot pick, could be a potential first boot for that tribe. But I also think, he's the easy one to sway over more so than Jake and Bruce. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens when they lose. But let's talk about Yellow, Zach, because this is where the boot comes from. This is where the potential medevac almost came from. This also is where the villain of the season comes from. And it's not Caleb.
Right out the gate, too. We thought there's still time. There's still time.
And I'll be honest, I love Caleb. I think he's great energy. I think he's doing exactly what he needs to do. He's playing the villain like he wanted to, but he's not doing it in like a mean asshole way. He's not an asshole about it. He's not an asshole. He's a villain in the way that he's like sitting back and kind of chuckling at himself, like,
Yep.
oh gosh, if I have to cut Brandon, I will. And I think that's a more fun villain than Emily, who is very just kind of mean spirited. That being said, I love the fact that she's on the season because I think she brings such an interesting dynamic
Yes.
to it. And then we also have to talk about Hannah, who quit. That's kind of where I said the last 10 minutes of the episode was kind of the blunder.
That's really a rough. That was rough. And it wasn't.
Let's start with there, because what are your thoughts on the quit? Because I know a lot of people have said, don't give her the hate. It's not her fault. It's casting's fault, which I agree. I don't think it's her fault. She probably should have known that she wasn't equipped for it and said that, but she doesn't know until she gets out there. It's the production side that has to kind of monitor to make sure, are we right in sending this person who's in nicotine withdrawal on the island, all these things. And then also, she doesn't deserve the hate, but
No.
Do you think this is like an admirable thing she did because she's saving someone else's spot? Because Brandon was likely the boot. Or do we think that she is disrespectful because she's taking someone else's spot? Like, what are your thoughts on the quit?
I don't know, man. I really live in this realm of just thinking like, and I've not been watching Survivor nearly as long as you have, but in the time that I have watched Survivor, I feel like I've just seen continuous amounts of like every first episode somebody goes home not for a game reason. Like somebody
Jackson
goes home
with
for
his meds, and then Bruce,
Hannah, Bruce. Like I feel like every single time, especially in the last couple of seasons, I do think casting is probably way more to blame in this than anybody else is. Because like they do not take these things into account, and they sometimes can not like take advantage of the excitement of others, but like kind of like she was just excited to be on national television, and now her whole world is turned upside down, which I don't agree with. I think the hate that she's getting is incredibly inappropriate. And also you have to remember that she's a human being and a person, and it's not as simple as, oh yeah, I feel great. Oh no, I don't want, oh yeah, I just don't feel like doing this. Like I feel bad that she's getting hate. That being said, to wait all the way up until Tribal to figure that out is a little suspicious or a little frustrating. So I think maybe that could have been handled well. I don't know.
Another thing too is like, in the spirit of the game, if you were at that point, and this happened in season 16 with Johnny Fairplay when he came back, he suffered a concussion in the first challenge, or not a concussion, but he like had a really bad like tooth operation before he left for quarantine, and then he was on the island. He was having severe head pain because he like got headbutt in a challenge or whatever, and he was so out of it. He was like, you know what, just vote me out.
Right.
Vote me out.
That's different. That's
different. That's the thing. But that's the thing, is like, he was ready to quit. He could have held out. He wasn't medically incapable of holding out, but he wanted to quit. But instead of saying, I'm going to quit, he said, you know what, vote me out. And I think, yes, it's still a quit, but at least then you kind of are in the spirit of the game, and you're allowing it to at least still be in the hands of others. And like, granted, if they had then decided to vote out Brandon, I think that makes them look bad too. So I think honestly what she should have said is, guys, please just vote me out. And then maybe gone through a vote and then gone with dignity rather than quitting right before the vote. Now I get it. If they had voted out Brandon and then she quit right after, that would have been even shittier, because then it's like, oh, now you just kind of ruined your spot and Brandon's. Like, now Brandon doesn't get this chance because you quit right after. I think she was right in the fact that if she wanted to quit, she should have done it before the vote. But like, just make them vote you out. Don't quit. I don't know. It was just kind of upsetting to me to see that, especially, I've applied to Survivor every year. I know I think you've applied. Like, you went to the casting.
I was going to say a lot of people always apply.
And how is it one person is more worthy than all these thousands of other people who auditioned and applied for it, and then is going to quit day 3? And I get it. You made it 3 days. You didn't quit on the mat, but it's like, and there are even alternates who were probably there ready to go and who had to fly home only to see that someone quit 3 days later.
Well, and they've had people quit, and they've had alternates fill in. So I'm curious
Jared
as to
Fields
why
had to back out last minute, and then his alternate Davey went on for David versus Goliath. It happens. And that's fair. Sometimes you're just not ready, or you don't pass a medical exam or whatever, and that's fine. But like, know your self-awareness and know that this is not going to be your thing. Or if you know it's not your thing, say, you know what, I'm going to tough it out, and if not, I just really would hope you guys would vote me out because I don't want to be here as much as others. But then if they don't, then try to stick with it. I just
Right.
think I don't know. I think the other thing to talk about now is Brandon, who was not close to quitting. He would never quit, but had a panic attack first challenge, had a really rough go in the second challenge, had really severe heartburn and acid reflux, and like all these things that like should have
He
gotten him
doesn't
voted out. Clearly,
control.
yes,
Right.
he doesn't control, but should have gotten him voted out. And it also begs the question of yes, they could be so eager to get there, but does casting also have to watch out for people like this? Who I love Brandon, I love the reason he's
I'm just
playing
getting
and
a
the
napkin to
spirit.
blow my nose. I'll be
Yeah,
right
no, it's
back.
you can still hear me, right? Yes, okay. But like for Brandon, even like he's a great find in terms of personality, and he probably has a great strategic mind for the game. But it's like this is also someone who's taking the spot of someone who would probably be a little bit more mentally and physically strong out there on the island. And I'm not saying anything against mental health. I have anxiety as well, but like there's a certain degree to where like this is dangerous sometimes to put these players in this situation. I'm worried that like it's almost going to be even more dangerous to Brandon's mental health and physical health to be out there. And it's
Right.
like, how do some of these people slip by casting? And I hope Brandon has a redemption arc. I really do. I hope his story is that he overcomes this and ends up being like a Final Four, like I predicted, kind of fire making loser, like the big hero of the season who overcomes. But it's like if he does go out next or the vote after or something, or ends up getting medevaced or something, it's like that's another instance of like casting just not necessarily focusing on the right things
Right.
and letting someone who is clearly not ready to play. And I'm not saying he's not ready to play. He has the potential to show us differently. But those first few days are tough. But even then, it was more so that I'm worried about him. Like I just don't
Right.
want him to deteriorate out there because it is mentally exhausting, and I just felt bad for him. What are
Right.
your thoughts on the Brandon situation?
You know what? I think honestly, based on how popular he is, just in terms of like media, like I mean,
Yeah.
his Twitter presence is huge.
Right.
Everything. I feel like Brandon still has a lot more story left. And he does. I mean, he has probably the best potential story out of anyone currently. He, passing out, not even being able to make it up a ladder on day one, and then going to Final Four is an incredible feat that I'm curious to see if we're going to be able to like watch that all the way through.
Mhm.
The thing is, again, this is my big problem. Showing Brandon hate on the internet for not being able to go up a
No.
ladder is probably just about the cruelest
It's
and
evil.
weakest
Yeah.
thing and anyone can do.
Mhm.
You don't know, like, and again, this is again we're taking into account, right? Hannah's whole thing is like this looks easier from the couch. It's easier from the couch, and I
Yes, we
think
have played
that
it on the
was
couch. We played online versions of it.
right. Like it's and you know what? From the couch, it's still hard. So if from the couch it's still hard, imagine like holding your whole body weight trying to get up this ladder. Your body is being your body's being you're in system
You're
shock
also
because
wet.
you're
Your shoes are filling with water. Your pants are
right.
filling with water. He was wearing
You're
shoes.
you're excited, you're nervous, you're anxious. Like it's not as simple as you know it's not as simple as like just getting up the ladder. And also take a couple other things into account. He's got this long flowing hair, he's a bigger dude, he's like it is not as simple as get up the ladder, Brandon. It's there is someone with challenges to overcome. And I mean, the thing we hear about people on Survivor all the time is that like 9 times out of 10, the people who have the people who have these experiences where they start maybe like either like and not Brandon's not overweight, but like out of shape or out of weight. This is where they find themselves, so that kind of starts to change, right? He's not going to be eating proper food in a matter. He's already not eating proper food, right? He's got to be way more active. He may not be used to this just as a human, and that's
No,
something that you have to take into account, right? Doesn't matter if you go to the gym every single day. Doesn't like some people can push through the anxiety of
and
it,
we've seen
others
with
can't.
yeah, and we've seen with Jonathan even he was going to the gym every day, but he actually had it worse than everyone else because he had gone from like thousands of calories to none at all. So sometimes even like the scrawnier ones are the ones who are going to hold up better, like Sean or Brando, because they're already eating less. They're a little more not out of shape, but not these big buff guys. Yeah, I don't think Brandon deserves any hate. Don't like he said, like try it yourself and then tell me it's easy.
Right.
But I do think casting does deserve at least a little bit of like a warning in terms of like, listen, like
Yes.
if people
Stop
are
doing
going
this.
to have panic attacks day one, like you need to at least be ready and prepared for that. And I'm hoping that he can overcome that because we've never really seen that. We never seen like a panic attack day one. It's always been either an injury or a quit type thing. Like even Hannah wasn't having a panic attack; she just wanted to go home. Whereas Brandon was a very interesting instance where he wants to be there. He does.
Right.
He wants to, but he's just physically like his whole mind and body is telling him no, 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 no. And I think it's going to be very interesting going forward, especially because I don't see this tribe winning much more.
No.
Because Caleb and Caleb and Sabaya are very strong. And I think Emily kind of looked at them as like this duo, like, oh, they're a duo, which, you know, I think it was just because they did that challenge together. They kind of were grouped together, but I think they could do a lot of damage together strategically. And I think Caleb
Yes.
in those challenges was such a force. I really love Caleb. I think he's great TV. I think
Oh, I
Sabaya's
think he's
great
going to
as
be
well.
great. He's not going anywhere soon.
Yeah,
He's not
I think
going
the two of
anywhere
them are
anytime
two
soon.
of them are great, and I really like Sean. But it really does seem like Emily and Brandon on that tribe are really on the outs. What are your thoughts on Emily though? Like, is she a fun villain to you? Is she annoying
I
to
don't
you?
know.
Is it both? Is it all of the above?
Yes.
Because I'm loving
Yes.
what she's bringing to the season, but I think if I was on the island with Emily, I would also want her out first
Oh,
because she would
I
be
think
dangerous to my game.
I think she's so annoying. She's tons of fun. She's tons of fun in terms of like from our perspective. I would never let her stand on an island with me. I think I actually probably would have been like, you can quit tomorrow. I'm getting rid of her. I think that would have been what I felt from a standpoint of like, it doesn't really matter if Hannah quits. Like, whether we have Hannah or not, we cannot have her. I don't want her. She's going to be a liability, and she has to play in the challenge.
Right.
So, I mean, like, from a villain, is she a good villain? She's not really a villain.
I don't think she's going to be
more
good at the strategy. No, because she's already telling, like, she already vocally said, let's get out Caleb or Sabaya, who are the two strongest people on your tribe. And also, when you're targeting Bruce and Caleb and Sabaya, the three, I don't want to say it, but
No, correct.
three black
No.
people, like that's also something that even if she's not aware, it's kind of that like implicit bias thing where like it could just be this unknown bias coming through. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but still, like
Right.
other people on the island may perceive it as that as well, especially if you're not on her tribe. If you're watching this from another tribe, you may be like, why is she like just coming at all the black people? That could be another element too. And I'm not trying to say she's racist either. They could just be coincidence.
No,
but
there is,
I just think there's a lot of things that are disconnected between the way Emily lives her life and the way a lot of others do. Now, that being said, I do think she is great TV, and I hope she sticks around for that reason. I would love to see her kind of also have a journey where maybe she learns to like be a little bit more compassionate, but while also still being 100% honest. You know, like you said in the preseason, like if she can go a few rounds in, like she could make it far. It's just going to be these first few hurdles. And you were much more positive on her in preseason than I was, but I think she does have potential to be a great character of this modern era if she lasts long.
I liked a lot how she was so self-aware. The problem with her self-awareness is that I think she's self-aware about I think she's self-aware about how not good she is at the survival aspect of the game. I don't think she understands how not good she is at the everything else aspect. Calling Bruce out in the first 20 minutes of the game is not a great move. Everyone remembers it. Calling Sabaya and Caleb out at camp and being so vocal and at camp and tribal, being so vocal about your distrust, all because all they did was go and try and get you supplies, is ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
she doesn't.
You could have done it, Emily. Yeah, right.
Well, that's the thing, is that she doesn't have enough prowess as a player to be able to just throw assumptions on people. But she thinks she does. She thinks, oh, I'm honest, so it doesn't matter how good I am at the survival aspect. My honesty will carry me through. And you know what? Your honesty will carry you through until people are finished with your honesty. Because this game is not about honesty. This game is about outwitting. And I think she thinks that in being honest, she is going to be able to outwit people. But that's never the case. That's never the case. You do not outwit people by being completely 100% honest. There is... even if you are holding back truth while telling the truth, you are lying. Not the same way that like you are purposefully lying to someone, but you are lying by omission. And that's a
Mhm.
big thing that I think like she is going to take to heart when people lie to her or whatever it is. And it's like, well, what are you doing? What are you going to do? And I think that that's going to be a big thing for her all season, if she even makes it all season.
Yeah. So we will talk in just a second about who we think the next boot from Yellow would be if they are to lose, because we're going to do our power rankings. But let's look at last week's our rankings. You had Hannah in the 8, I had Hannah in the 14. So I'm up by 6 points, which is exciting. We know my leads tend to crumble pretty early, so we will see how this holds out. But look at that. I mean, like Jake was our 1 and 2. He's a target. Brandon is our 4 and 7. He's a target. It's very interesting to see how one
Right.
premiere kind of recontextualizes things. But again, anything can happen on Survivor. I don't think anyone's down and out necessarily. But who is going to be your safest person this week? Who's your number one? Isn't going anywhere. No chance
Um,
of elimination.
Austin, baby, he's not going
Okay.
anywhere. I think that episode proved that he's too good at the game. I don't think anyone's looking at him. I don't think he's the problem on his tribe. He and Sifu are in the same tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, he's not going anywhere. He's not going
Yeah.
anywhere.
And yeah, I think you said it best. Austin and Sifu in the same tribe. They're not losing, And if they lose, it would be
He's not
because of
going
like a
anywhere.
puzzle, which then
He's
would
not
be
going
put on
anywhere.
Drew, Julie, or J Maya. It won't be on their hands because they're going to be the brawn
Not
that
going
are needed.
anywhere.
The only thing is he doesn't have a vote. That's why he's a little lower for me. And that's if they lose while he hasn't found the idol. So I don't, have much stock on that. My number one though, I alluded to it earlier. I like her a lot. I think I put Katora, just because I love that scene with her and Jake where she's kind of like playing dumb to the whole lawyer thing. I think that's a really good strategy. I really like her energy. And I think between her tribe, I think Kelly's a little too quiet and I think Kendra's a little too loud to where she's that perfect middle ground of the three. And I'll just rattle off my 1, 2, 3 because it is Katura, Kelly, and Kendra. I think that 3 is just going to be so solid. Maybe I have Kendra a little too high. Just because you have alluded to the fact that she could be the first boot if Blue loses, but again, I don't think Blue is losing, and if they do, I
No.
think the girls are gonna get their way and get one of the guys out first. After that, maybe Kendra becomes more of a target, but I do think Katura, Kelly, and Kendra, while they have this bond, they may as well hold on to it. So I have
Right.
1 Katura, 2 Kelly, and then 3 is Kendra. Who is gonna be your number 2, Zach?
I mean, by accident, I actually will just give you my 1, 2, 3, 4 and make it easy.
Okay.
My 1 is Austin, my 2 is Julie, my 3 is Dee, and my 4 is J Maya.
Okay.
I just, you know what? I just that
So 4
tribe's not
reds.
that tribe's not losing. They're not going anywhere. And if they're going anywhere, those 4 I think probably are the safest all around. I don't think they have anything to worry about in terms of people kind of like having their name out there. That being said, the only thing that might be a problem is that Austin doesn't have a vote, so it's not a 3-3, it's a 3-2. But as long as Julie, I mean, I can't imagine Julie, D, and J Maya not voting together at this point, especially against someone like Sifu, and there's a reason that he's not with them, or even Drew.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's interesting too because we haven't really gotten anyone say like this is the target on Red. The
right.
only person we've seen have any negative against him is Sifu because he was caught hiding. But even then, like we haven't heard anyone say Sifu is going to be the one to go if we lose because also he's very strong. He's literally the strongest guy on the island. So it's very interesting to see like how this is going to play out for Red because we really don't know who the
Right.
targets will be. We saw Jay, Maya, and Drew kind of talking about being outsiders in life, but still, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be outsiders in the game. 4, I have Austin for that reason. I think he's strong. If he finds the idol, he'll be my number 1. So I'm really solid with 4
I'll give
Austin.
I'll give 5 because it's Katura, and you've already spoken on Katura, and she's the highest of my blues for the same reasons that you mentioned. I think she is so well ingrained. No one's looking at her. No one's worried about her. She's doing probably the best out of anybody at this current moment on that tribe.
Yeah, my number 5 after Austin is D. We didn't get any hints that they're going to be a showmance like we hoped. They might still be. But I still think D, despite not really having anything to do with the episode, like in terms of like she didn't need to be there for strategy or for the challenge or whatever in terms of the story, she was still heavily featured. And I think that's a good thing for D. She's almost like the narrator on that tribe. She's getting a lot of confessionals when she doesn't need them, which is always a good upside for a winner potential. I really like Dee. I think she has a good energy. My 6 is going to be Brando. And I know that's wild because that was your first boot pick, but I really think if Blue loses, I think it's Bruce or Jake. I don't think it's Brando. I think the girls are going to try to pull over Brando. The only way Brando goes is if it's because he's a liability in challenges, but I think he's going to be good enough in puzzles. I really think Brando is someone who can float by, which is a good thing for him. So I have him at number 6. Who's your number 6, Zach?
Controversial up at 6 is Caleb. I mean, they can't get rid of Caleb on yellow because he literally is their only collateral. He's one of the two strongest members of the tribe, and I think, spoiler alert, I think that in the situation of getting rid of him or Sabaya stands more of a reason to be taken out over him. Just because I think she's been a bit more vocal and a bit more like out there about it, especially with how Kelly or damn it, I keep doing it. Emily, especially like with how
the hero and the villain completely like they could not.
I know,
be more
so different.
Okay.
Which, speaking of which, Kelly stands at my number 7. She's right in the she you know, if Katura is the most ingrained and Kendra is the least ingrained, Kelly falls right in the middle. It's just gonna depend on how she navigates. If they have to go to tribal, they're never going to
tribal. At number 7, I actually have Sifu. I think yes, he made a blunder in being the one searching and going crazy for arrows. But if they lose, I just don't know how they settle on the big, strong Tai Chi martial arts master going home. Like he really is, and he's such a good focal point in terms of character. I think this is one of those things where he's like, I'm gonna play a Tony game, and then he's kind of humbled by it, and then he starts to decide I'm gonna play a little more socially. I think this is kind of like a first episode blunder, but like you're still a prominent character, and I don't think he's gonna win the season, but I think he's safe right now.
I also think he is not someone you get rid of now, but you do the closer you get to merge. That's when you start thinking like, okay, yeah, he can't stay here any longer. Like we can't have him around it for individual immunities.
My number 8 and 9 are also from Red, so I'll just put them back to back. At number 8, I have Julie. Just because I don't think we got a ton of Julie, but what we got was all positive. I don't think she'll be that early boot. I think she's kind of shown that she is an asset and not this challenge liability like so many people thought she might be because she's a little older. And then at 9, I have Drew, only because we got so much of him as like this strategy. Like we heard what his strategy was in this episode, which makes me think he could be a boot in the near future, but I don't think he's the next boot. He kind of talked about him, Drew, I forget his last name, but like Drew is like the kind of awkward, nerdy, social outsider. And then the last name guy is like the guy who's going to be a little more cutthroat, a little more, kind of Jekyll and Hyde, which I think is like a fun confessional. And I really like Drew. And I think he's very tall, so he's going to be helpful in those challenges where you have to reach up and unlock keys and shit. Right. I think he'll be okay. And that leaves one person in Red I haven't talked about as the potential boot if they lose. But again, I don't think they're losing. So who's your number 8? And I guess you could do your 9 as well.
My 8 is Sean. I think Sean is the least assuming. He is so. We didn't really get a whole lot of Sean this episode, which is
good though for a hot mess tribe like that.
I was gonna say normally that's not a great thing, but in a hot mess tribe, that's actually probably the best thing because it means that you are not on anybody's radar most of the time. We could be wrong about that. So I just don't think Sean is the person who we're looking at, and also Sean has been a lot of the voice of reason. I mean, he's been the one who's gone to Sabai and Caleb, been like, I don't really know what's going on with her, but she really thinks that you have something, and I know you probably don't.
Yeah, he's the one kind of running the strategy there. Like Caleb and Sabai are more prominent figures, and they're kind of more dictating things. But Sean is the one really kind of going around and
coming from behind,
figuring out where the lines are drawn. Sean's kind of drawing those lines, which I really like. I could see it. I know you haven't seen Survivor China, but he has very Todd Herzog upside, where like he could slip through the cracks, and people might not see him coming. Who's your number 9?
Number 9 is Kendra. I just think she's the loudest of the girls on that blue tribe, and so if they do go to tribal and they decide they want to get rid of someone who's not great at challenges but is loud and out there for no reason, I think she stands to be that person. But she just missed out on double digits still, and I know you'll be happy about that. She's not just my easy first boot. I actually and she's not even the lowest boot for the blue tribe for me.
Yeah, sorry, my pen, the clicker on the pen just flew off as I was writing. Sorry, your Kendra's 9. I heard it all. I just needed to. Okay.
And then I'll give you 10. 10 is Sifu. He just and again, nothing different. I think you're very right. I think this was a humbling moment, so I think he will take that in stride and see it as that for what it is, a humbling moment. And hopefully we'll see him kind of we'll either see him upswing or we'll see him just continue to tank.
At number 10 and 11, I have the last two guys on Blue. I think if Blue loses, it's a toss up if they're going to go through with Jake or go for Bruce. I think Bruce, based on the preview, I think is going to continue to be a little bit more of like that kind of crazy uncle again, which could help him recover. But Jake also, just based on the confessionals about wanting to get out of grandma's house, I still think he has winner upside. So I'm putting Jake at 10 and Bruce at 11 just because I think they're okay, because I think their tribe is going to win. But I really still think they're going to be the two that are looked at if Blue loses. But I just think, based on the edit, I still think Bruce is the boot of the two. But I don't know yet. Who's your number 11?
11 is Brando. And again, he is the highest of the three Blue guys. I think he has made himself useful enough and not not enough of a target that he kind of navigates through those girls. And I'm sure that they probably look at him and see like an easy pull-in to kind of do whatever they want, which is great. That being said, I don't think he has a lot of longevity. But you don't need longevity right now. You just need to be a number, right. and he is good for that. And then 12.
For our team, it's predicting the next episode, not predicting the season. So that's good for Brando.
Right.
Like, I think he's safe next time. Yeah.
And then for 12 is Sabaya. I think Sabaya, I'm very yellow heavy at the bottom here. Sabaya is there only because in a standoff between her and Emily, I feel like people might look at it and go, all right, well, we could get rid of Emily, but she's kind of annoying and she kind of pushes everybody away. So like, if we need a reason to get rid of someone like Sabaya now, I mean, like, let's take it. I don't think that will be the trajectory at which they do that. But I can see that occurring just by happenstance. I think Sabaya has probably the least longevity for people long-term, except for Caleb. But I can see a world where they do that. Do I think that that's what's happening? No, but I can see a world.
My number 12 is the last member of Red that I have to talk about, which is J Maya. I still like J Maya. I think she's good, but I still am of that mindset of if they lose, she is kind of by this modern era, the weak link. And it's sad because I think she's really, really likable and has great confessionals and stuff. But we kind of saw her and Drew bonding of the fact that they're a little bit of an outsider. So unless they go for Sifu because he's causing up too much drama, I do think J Maya could be the boot. Just because also J Maya, she kind of reminds me of Maddie from last season, where it's like you had Brandon who was like looking at the cage idol and trying to hide it, and Maddie called him out. She was like, yo, you found the idol. And he was like, yeah, I found the idol. It kind of reminds me of that, where like then they went off on Maddie and voted Maddie out. I think she could be the same thing, where they like she's trying to get Sifu out, but it's like he's just too strong. We got to go for Maddie or J Maya, sorry. So she's my number 12. And I don't know if you realized my bottom 5 is all yellow. Just because I think there's no way they win. I unless
agree.
It's like one of those challenges where it's like send your 2 strongest and it's 2 versus 2 versus 2,
right?
And it's Caleb and Sabaya. Like I really don't think, because even Sean, I like Sean, but I don't think Sean's good at challenges. Like I really think this is going to be, I mean, the best moment was Sean going up the ladder and running to his tribe as if he accomplished something, and them all being like, Brandon's still on the ladder, dude. And Sean runs back. Yeah, my bottom 5 is all yellow. And that could tank me in our power rankings game, because we like to usually have one of each at the bottom. And that's your strategy, I see. But hey,
correct.
I'm playing risky today. I'm putting all 5 yellows at the bottom. But who is your number 13, Zach?
So let me get to I'll get through my 13, and you know what? And I'll even give away kind of my 16 and 15, because then we'll have talked about everyone except the remaining yellows. So my 13 is Jake. I think that Jake, it's already pretty obvious out there that someone like Kendra kind of wants a Jake out. I don't know if everybody's going to allow that. I think that they might actually, might stand to get more annoyed and angry with Bruce a little bit faster, which is why Bruce is 16 for me. I think he is probably if I don't see Blue beating Red, especially if it's like, let's say they send 2 tribes to tribal, right? Yeah. I think that Blue probably
15.
Drew is actually my 16, or sorry. Oh yes. Yeah. Drew is my 15. Bruce is 16.
Gotcha.
And I'm taking a gamble on Drew. I don't know. I just have that feeling that he won't be here too long. That's really my only thing. I think that conversation with him and J Maya is big. I think J Maya has Julie and D kind of there to assist her, and then it might come down to a tie, and then it could even come to rocks, and nothing we have said matters.
Yeah. My number 13, 14, and 15 are the 3 yellows you have talked about. So 13, I actually have Sabaya over Caleb. At 14, I have Caleb, only because Emily, when she was targeting them, was targeting Caleb, not Sabaya. So I think
Right.
Sabaya still has Caleb to hide behind. So Sabaya at 13, 14 is Caleb, 15 is where I have Sean, though. Just because Sean, while he is well ingrained, like if they lose and it's about strength, I actually
Right.
think Emily is not bad at challenges. And if she's able to say, well, Sean sucks at challenges, but there's also someone who sucks more at challenges. So Sean is going to be my 15. So between your 14 and 17, you got Emily and Brandon. Who's going to be your 14 and who's going to be your 17, Zach?
My 14 is Brandon. And listen,
Okay.
I just don't think Brandon's done. I don't think he's done yet. I think it's going to be I think he's got a lot of heart, and I think we're going to see that kind of overcome even just for one more episode. But I don't think he survives a third eviction for sure. A third tribal for sure.
I get you.
And then Emily is right at the bottom for 17. If they don't get her out, what are they doing?
Yeah, I actually have Emily at 16 and Brandon at 17.
You're
Only
crazy,
because,
bro.
listen, if you lose 2 in a row, you got to start thinking about strength. And Emily is admittedly not bad in challenges. Brandon is, and I'm just worried if Brandon doesn't have that bounce back, then like he's an easy boot because he was supposed to be the boot this week. I think they were going to actually go for him over Emily this week just to keep the tribe strong. And I think in this modern era when swaps aren't likely, you know, I think you have to get rid of the weak links. That being said, I'd love to see Brandon succeed, but it's also like I just think also for the longevity of the season, do I want someone like Brandon in 3 or 4 more episodes and then just get out before the merge anyway? Or do I want to see Emily last 3 or 4 episodes and potentially even get to the merge as this villain? I think Emily's more exciting TV, so I'm rooting for Emily to stay only for that perspective
Right.
of like it'll make a more entertaining season. I think of the 5, honestly, Sean is the boot that would kind of make the most like the best television. I think keeping both Brandon and Emily would be great television, but I do think for the sake of wanting to see Emily on my screen more, I'm going to put her at 16 and Brandon at 17. So there you go with our Survivor rankings. We'll see next week how those shape out. Emily is your next prediction boot. Mine is Brandon. I think we're both safe to say Yellow is going to lose, but we will see. Now let's move on to Big Brother. And I think it's very interesting to talk because last time we talked, it was the pressure cooker and Heisem had just been evicted, right? And we were questioning, is it a good move to get rid of him? Is it not? Should we have kept him? Is getting out Cameron a better move? And then Cameron wins that pressure cooker. And we're like, maybe they should have kept Tyson. But it's like, whatever. Cameron will go whenever he's most vulnerable next. And then we see the powers used. Jag doesn't go home after all. And then we see the next week where it's pretty clear cut. Cameron Red are the targets. Cameron wins veto, though. Red goes home. Next week, Cameron wins HOH. And then it makes this huge move to get rid of Izzy. And then we see again, Cameron finally falls, can't win that veto, and goes home, only for Jared to go home in the double after tarnishing his relationship with Corey, only for them both to come back to compete in a competition where Cameron wins and Corey goes. And Jared goes. We're not going to spoil the next HOH.
We can't?
I mean, we can. Cameron
Ready?
won that too. Sorry,
Oh,
I said it.
I was going to give spoilers here.
So the basic crux of the last month of Big Brother has been 3 people voted out that did not get to leave. Jag, Cameron, and Jared. Jared finally did leave because of competition. Cirie going from having the most power in the house and having everyone in her corner to losing her 2 children, Izzy and Jared, but then simultaneously being able to kind of repair her image all at once because Corey is starting to now come across as the puppet master and being the outward leader. And Cameron having the Frank in a carrot suit trajectory of just not being able to lose.
Nope,
and when he loses, he gets a shot to come back in. Those 3 points I want to talk about. First point, all the non-evictions. How do you feel about that? I know a lot of people have said, myself included, that this is one of the best seasons ever. I think just the way everyone's playing, the only person who's really not playing is Bowie Jane, and she's still an entertaining presence because of that. Everyone's playing hard. Everyone has been playing nonstop. There really hasn't been any lull. Even in this past week where there was not an eviction, there was still a lot of gameplay going on. Even for people like Blue who have never seen the show before, she's playing hard. Micole's playing hard even though she's under the radar. Felicia's playing hard. All these people are playing very hard, and it's been really fun to see. But what do you think about these non-eliminations? Because now we had 3 guys saved despite getting evicted, and does it kind of make the game a little less? Does it remove the stakes a little bit, or do you like kind of the idea of expect the unexpected? Anyone who gets evicted can come right back.
I think okay. I don't love it, but I think I like it a lot more than a battle back. You know what I mean? I actually think that this is way better than a battle back, because in a battle back, it's kind of a toss up. I mean, I think the zombie thing is probably the closest to a battle back we'll get all season, which is
But they were in the
fine.
house. They were in the house and they got to
And
interact. Yeah.
that is the big thing for me, is I think that what's always best when there's non-eliminations is that there are immediate ramifications for the decisions that people make. That is what I, because in a battle back, you know, you could, if you got sent out right at jury and then we made it to final, so like that's what final 12 is, or sorry,
This
9
season,
is when
9 is jury.
9 is when, or
Normally it's
let's
11.
so let's say we get to 11, you get voted out, you're the first juror, you come back at final 7, so that's 4 weeks of game. There's been so much game, and I think what's cool about the way that this has gone is that, like, sure, Jag not going was kind of rough, but even with it being a little bit rough, there were immediate ramifications, and then that week after was pivotal. I mean, like, again, that, because Jag doesn't go home, and then it's Cameron Red. Cameron comes off, Red goes home.
Yeah.
That whole week was a mess.
And Jag is really well ingrained. He's looked at as like a potential target because he's so close with Matt, but I think him and Matt are in a lot of good conversations to where everyone's targeting either Meme and Felicia or Corey in America, and Cam is always going to be like that target, always. Whereas I think Matt and Jag have been able to kind of like lay low. Yes, they're threats and people know it, but they're also, they like them enough to want to work with them. Like they're working with Eric and Corey, they're working with Cameron and Blue, they're working with Suri. I think Jag was able to kind of repair that because he was unanimously evicted. So he kind of had the luxury of saying, I'm an open target. And we even saw that with Cameron in the discussions they had of Cameron saying, well, hey, if you won't nominate me next week, I will nominate you this week, when he was sending home Izzy. And I think that was also a big thing as well. Jag was able to have that luxury of kind of laying low and being that easy person to take along. Whereas now if Jag makes it to the end, I think Jag could win. And he was my preseason winner pick. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I think that so many non-eliminations gets frustrating, but I think what was weirder is that this week was just so long. This last week was so long. There was no HOH.
Kind of stalled the game, yeah.
Which is, I will say, I know a lot of people had a problem with it. I'm almost very pro it, because it forced people to not have power and to play. It's sort of like in a Survivor scenario where, like, so again, Dylan and I play orgs. There's a whole org that did a full season with no advantages. You have to play a game properly that way. There's nothing to save you. There's no veto right now. There's no HOH. It is all social, because here's the thing. What that said was, like, there's no person available. Like, we're not sending somebody home that's not Jared or Cam, but also, like, either of them could come back in. So you can't just axe one and talk only to the other, because if they had done that with just Jared, I mean, Jared walks out the door, no one's in good with Cam. Now what happens?
Well, and what's interesting about this, and this is kind of segueing us to the second point I wanted to make, which was Suri versus Corey, and how it's kind of went from Suri's house to losing power to now being Corey's house, and he may lose power soon. But like the idea that Suri, because it was unknown of whether or not Jared or Cameron would come in, no one was really looking at them as the next targets. Because if you set it up to where it's like, next round we're getting out Jared, and then Jared doesn't come back, there's no point in strategizing. And same with Cameron. It's like, why make all these plans to go after Cameron? That's why the targets pivoted to Corey, to Felicia, to Meme, to Matt and Jag even. Like, I think that's what's so interesting about this week, is that they honestly kind of were able to repair the relationships. And I know people have said Suri has had an unfair advantage this whole time. I agreed the first 2 weeks. I think Jared was very helpful in giving her the information she needed. But in the weeks since then, Jared was a hindrance to her game. So much so to where I think the reason to get rid of Hisam and Red stemmed a lot from Jared wanting to keep around people like Matt and Jag and Blue. And I think now that Jared's out, I think Suri is now, I think, more advantaged than she was when Jared was there, because now she gets to play her own game. And 100%. She also doesn't have Izzy as well. And I think Izzy was a good person for her, because Izzy and Jared were always going to be loyal to her, but she also knew that having them around and having such big, strong personalities as Jared and Izzy in the house was drawing a lot of attention to her. And that's why Cameron said, they're the president, we got to get them out. Now, I think keeping Hisam would have been the better move in the long run for Suri specifically. But in terms of this house, now that Hisam, now that Red, now that Jared and Izzy are all gone, those were people who were tight with Suri. Suri can kind of hide now, and that's kind of how she plays her Survivor game. She's always targeted early
Right.
on, then ends up slipping through the cracks around the merge time, and then ends up being a threat at the end. And not even a threat at the end, but kind of her alliance ends up being a threat. But she's never the one targeted. She goes home for kind of odd reasons. She gets either idled out final four fire making, or because everyone else plays an advantage and she doesn't. Like the only time she's actually been voted out proper is in final 3 Micronesia, when surprise they made it a final 2 last minute and they had to vote someone out at 3. That is really where
That's the
she
only
excels,
time.
and this is the time where she can kind of take back control while still laying under the radar. And I
Right.
think it's been great to see her kind of go from, because you as someone who hadn't watched her Survivor seasons, I know was a little critical of her, and I was always kind of defensive because I love her, but I think now we actually kind of see that she really just does have a magic at the social strategic
Well,
game. And that's how she's been able to play this last week. Even with Jared there, she has been kind of putting herself forward with the mindset of Jared might be gone. I need to start thinking for myself. And I love that. I love that notion. And I love how she's now wants Corey out, but also is going to let other people do it. And I think Cameron coming back is actually the best thing for her as well, because I think Cameron is also going to see Suri as someone who's lost all her allies and is a free agent as well.
Right. Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I'm curious I'm curious right now, the people who actually I think stand in the best position are probably like Jag and Matt, who have played the middle the whole game. And and early on, I mean, losing Riley was huge for them. But now what's kind of happened is they've become the ultimate free agents. They stand nothing to lose, only everything to gain. People can utilize them however they want. Suri has Matt, but Matt also goes back to Corey. Jag and Blue is this really good kind of connection that they have, but even still, like they play opposite one another so often. I think that Matt and Jag, two people who I would not have, thought had a lot of longevity, especially considering at some point or another they have both been potential weekly targets. I mean, they have done something pretty phenomenal, and they have hidden behind these big players. They've utilized themselves in the best way for the big players, and all they're going to need eventually is just the right week where one of them wins and puts up the big players, and that's when they can say, like, I'm choosing my side, and and they'll be at the right point in the game to be able to do that. It's very hard to choose a side right now because the sides kind of don't exist. It's more like Suri and Corey going like this.
And even then, I don't even think Corey even knows Suri's coming at him. I think Corey thinks, and I think this is going to be Corey's big downfall. I think Corey, because of getting rid of Jared and then seeing Jared lose that comp and having Cam come back in, I really think Corey thinks he's running the show. And I think the difference between him and Suri is Suri knew she was running the show when she was running the show, but as soon as she lost that power, as soon as Cam won HOH, she knew immediately. She was like, I'm going to lose my power this week. And Izzy went home and she knows I lost my power. She was self-aware of that. Corey, I don't think he realizes that by going like this, Matt is pissed off because you literally shielded your mouth from reading lips, and now Matt doesn't like you. And Matt was one of your numbers. Jared was one of your numbers. And yes, Jared is at fault in that friction, but still, Corey fought back when Corey could have just said, dude, it's okay. Like, let's actually talk about this. Corey did fight back with Jared. I'm not saying Corey's to blame, but I also think it's interesting. A lot of people have been giving Suri a little bit of flack for being a puppet master. I don't think it's a Paul game because Paul was a bully on that season. Paul could be great outside the house, but on that season, Paul was a bully. Suri was not a bully about it. She was just a strategist mastermind. And I think Corey is doing the same thing, but Corey is a little cocky and a little egotistical. And I think a lot of people have been saying, like, if Suri talked the way Corey talked, I think Suri would be kind of an asshole. I think that's the thing is, like, I think it's different perceptions and stuff. And I'm really worried for Corey. I like Corey. I think he's playing a good game, but I think first off, he needs to shave that mustache. Second off, I think his showmance is kind of getting in the way a little bit of his strategy. And I just don't necessarily know his longevity. That being said, I don't think he's the boot this week. I think it's a very interesting path Corey's had because he kind of went from being on the bottom to rising up to the top and now kind of like thinking he's in a great spot, but I think a lot of people are catching on to how he's the biggest threat. And I think that's why, like you said, Matt and Jag are playing such a good game because no one's looking at them as running the show, but no one's looking at them as the next people to target. Like Felicia isn't running the show, but she's kind of the common, everyone kind of wants her out because they don't trust her in a jury house to have that much say with a jury. And they know jury starts next week. So they're like, let's get her out this week. And I think Cam is someone who's going to always be targeted when he doesn't win because of that as well, because he's so dominant. Question becomes, do you think Heisem going was a good move in general. And I think it depends on the different people, because I think Suri, a lot of
I
people
don't
said it's a
know.
bad move for her because Heisem would have been loyal to her. And that's true. I think Heisem would have been loyal to her. The problem is, if Heisem's in the game loyal to her, I think it maybe makes Suri even more of a target.
Yeah, I
And I
think it
also
was. I
think
think it was the right thing for her to
and I
lose
also
him.
think keeping Cam in the game, having this chaos Cam, like I really do think it leaves a shield in there that's more chaotic than Heisem would have been. I think Heisem was very direct and that annoyed people,
Yeah,
whereas Cameron is so indirect it annoys people. Um, yeah, it's just very interesting to see the two different people on the block in like
yeah,
retrospect. Was getting rid of Heisem the right move? Now, if she wanted to keep Izzy and Jared around, I think keeping Heisem would have been better than Cameron, because Cameron is the one who actively got out Izzy and
right.
Jared. So it's very interesting to look in retrospect. But I've kind of gone back and forth. Is Heisem going the best move? Because that was really the turning point, I think, in when Cerie started to lose a little bit of that power. But now that she's gotten it back, I'm like, you know what? Anyone could have gone, and she's still gonna find a way, which has been fun. But Mimi, your winner pick, has also been laying under the radar, but is finally for the first time
Yeah, she's on the
nominated.
block. It's
But
all
how do you
right.
feel about that? Do you still think she's in a good position?
Yeah, I think they're just keeping her up there as collateral so Felicia doesn't come off. But I think that Suri wants Mimi here. Suri and Mimi haven't done this. Suri and Felicia, whole lot of this. Whole
Yeah,
lot of this
yeah.
recently. So I think she's fine. If anything, I actually think finally going on the block sometimes is for the betterment of somebody's game, because it means that it shows people you're not invincible. Which is great, because then people go, okay, great, we're going to be able to handle her at some point. Not, okay, let's get her out. Whereas, like, for someone like Suri hitting the block for the first time probably ruins her game. But because she's either going out that time, or people are like, how did Suri survive the block again? How did
Right.
we had the chance to get her out? That's why when they could have put her on the block that week,
The double eviction. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why it wasn't, and I think that's just an oversight from their part, but B, great commentary on her gameplay. She made sure that it wasn't her.
Well, also the thing is, I think if you have Suri and Jared on the block, there's a good chance Suri asks to go home. And I know none of us want to see that, especially after we just talked about a quit on Survivor. I know you and I have both been like, nah, she's gonna play for herself. But I think she was legitimately at the point where she was like, I want you to have a chance, baby.
Right.
And I really think if you put them on the block together, there's a good chance Suri will say, like, get me out. And I think another thing is, if you put Suri and Jared on the block together and Matt wins veto, which he did, Matt takes Suri off. And I think if Matt takes Suri off, then you got Suri pissed off. And I think that's the difference, is if you put Jared in blue, at least it's easy to say, you know what? We were showmans, we were nominated, America and Corey. Let's nominate another showmans, Jared in blue. I think it's a lot easier because now Corey doesn't have Suri coming at him.
Right.
So I still think it was okay not to nominate her. I think if you nominate her, you have to send her home, is kind of what you said. If Jared was the target, which he should have been, then I don't think he should have been up there with Suri. I think the only thing that is bad about not putting Suri up with Jared at the double would be if Suri won veto and took Jared off. But Suri's never won a competition in Survivor, let alone Big Brother. So like, and Corey knows that, I think, also. So I don't think it was a blunder for him not to put Suri up against Jared.
No.
I think it burned a little bit of a bridge with Blue, and I think that was a misfire. Honestly,
He probably
should have put Jared on the block with like a Bowie Jane or a Felicia, just as a way of saying like you're the pawn. I think putting Blue up was honestly more of a blunder than not putting Suri up, if that makes sense.
Yes. No,
it's okay. So now we look at who has never been nominated. Now, Suri has never been nominated. Matt has never been nominated. And yep, you know it. Bowie Jane has never been nominated.
Oh,
what do you
she's
think?
still here?
Yeah, she's still here. And I'll be honest, I think she's a lock for Final 3 now. I just don't see her going home before that. I don't see, unless it's like Jag, Matt, Blue, and Cameron have this brigade alliance that they want to do, and that's your 4. Like, I really don't know why you would get rid of Bowie Jane at any point.
No, and I mean, it's annoying. We don't like to see people who don't play well play on these games, because we're like, why are you there and we're not? But
is
you know
she
what?
not playing well? She's not playing actively, but is she playing poorly? I don't think so.
She's
not targeted.
I guess not playing. I guess not playing bad doesn't necessarily mean that you're not playing well. Yeah, I'm bored by her. I don't like that she's still there. I wish, like, these are moments where I'm like, I wish I still had Izzy over Bowie Jane. I wish I still had, like,
Izzy was great television. Yeah,
Nicole and Felicia being up on the block together makes me so annoyed, because I'm like, why not just put Felicia up with Bowie Jane and secure someone going home? And maybe that is what happens. You know, I want to see her feel forced to play, and she's never going to be forced to play ever until Final Four if she's still there and doesn't want to go home.
Right. Question. So now we've seen this kind of brigade form with Cameron, Matt, and Jag. And I love Matt's line of, I was like 5 when the brigade formed. I've never heard of that, which is great because it's also showing that while he is a good strategist and he's in the conversations, he's still playing that kind of like, I'm kind of a dumb blonde,
Right.
you know, which I think is going to be helpful to get to the end. I really like Matt. But Matt, Jag, and Cameron, do you see this actually going through as a brigade thing, or do you think it's to cover their asses this week and then the second Cameron's vulnerable, he goes home? And do you think it's one of those things where they let someone else take out Cameron, or do you think this is going to be your final 3 or like a 3 that runs the show now?
Honestly, it depends on the loyalty of somebody like Matt. If Matt doesn't mind kind of hiding things from Suri and putting himself in a better position to win ultimately, like win out, then it could be something that really follows through for the whole rest of the season. But I think the decider will be Matt. And I currently just don't see a world where he doesn't eventually side again with Suri and get Cameron and Jag out for her.
Well, I don't think you would get Jag. I still think he would choose Jag over Suri. I think Minute Men is his number one priority, and then I think it's his relationship with Suri. I really think he's going to be okay with Jag. But I do agree. I think he would take the shot at Cameron if he needed to.
Yeah.
But the thing with Matt and Jag is they don't need to take the shot. They need to let either like Mimi or Suri win HOH and then target Cameron. The problem is next to Cameron, the other good comp people are like Corey, who's won 1 comp.
Right.
Like he hasn't even won a lot. And then Matt and Jag, who Matt has won 1 comp, and then Jag, who's won a few, like 2 or 3. So I really just don't know who's going to beat Cameron in a comp to send him home at this point. And it has to be like a mental comp or something. Because even though Cameron won a mental comp as well, like I think it's now at the point where like Cameron could legitimately just win out. And does he
really
win the
could
game if he does win out or no? Like that's the question. Is he playing?
Depends who he's sitting. Just depends who he's sitting there with, and like if he gets there and he takes Bowie Jane to the end with him, then yeah, he should win. I mean, if he doesn't, it'll be atrocious, and it won't be. It'll
be like a Mickey thing where it's like you have to win because you played the best game of the 2 of you, but like we can't stand you. And I think that's the one thing about the zombie twist that I don't like is that yes, Jared gets a chance for closure with Suri, and we get that emotional moment, that emotional goodbye. But like Cameron's still in the house, and I don't like it. Like he went home. That was a big move for Jared to take out Cameron. It really was. And I know people don't like Jared, but like he did it. He's the one who took down Cameron.
Right.
And Suri had a hand in that. And now like all of a sudden, Cameron gets to play more and he's the HOH. Like, I just think that's just kind of annoying. I get it. Expect the unexpected, but it's like, how many chances is this guy going to get? He literally is a cat with 9 lives. And maybe it's going to be like a Frank thing where at Final 7, he just gets unlucky and just doesn't win veto. And that's just when the house collectively decides to boot him.
And I mean, listen, here's the other thing is that like could have been anyone winning. This is the one thing I'll say for him. Could have been anyone going out. Could have been anyone winning. Things are determined way before the season happens. It just so happens that we saw like this group of people try to take him out so many times. He overcomes it. The one time he doesn't, production just happens to be able to handle something for him. And I think that these are the moments when things like that suck because it's like, okay, we're really going to watch Cameron stay in the house again, even though he was out, blah, 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 whatever it is. But then like for him to come back and win HOH, I mean, is that more or less impressive than like what Victor did? I think it's more impressive. He's never in every situation where Cameron has had, has been subverted. He has come back stronger every single time. And it's very impressive. And we can even count his eviction as like, they thought they did the absolute most the only thing they could do, which was get him out, and that wasn't even enough. And I'm wondering, that puts him in a certain position that if he can come out of that, if he can make the right calls and the right shots this week, I mean, he stands a good way to win, pretty much win out. I don't know. I think it will be interesting to watch it occur.
Yeah. And that's the opposite for Suri, whereas I think Suri is now a lock to make probably Final 5 or Final 4, but can she win the comps to get into Final 3 and win? Because I think if she's a Final 3, I still think like Bowie would take her to the end. I still think even like Jag or Matt would take her to the end. Nicole would probably take her to the end. Blue would take her to the end. Felicia's probably not going to be there at that point. But like the only people I see not taking Suri to the end are Cameron, America, and Corey, which is why I think Corey and America have to go. for Suri's game at least. So it's going to be very interesting also to see that angle of it. And see, I'm just so fascinated by this game. I love how the shifting power, like Suri was running the game, then she lost the power, then Corey's running the game, and now it seems like everyone's kind of targeting Corey in America, and now Cameron may end up taking over the game now, and maybe he'll fall at the end too, and it'll be Matt and Jag who rise up. Like, I'm really excited to see how it goes. And I just have one last question to ask you, Zach, is like, who do you think right now is the most likely winner of Big Brother 25?
I mean, if they keep letting her go through, it's Suri. I don't see a world where she, either Suri or someone like, honestly, someone like America, who, America's got a game. She's got a game that she's playing. She plays it well. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's utilized Corey in every single asset that she has him in. Yeah. She always feels safe. She knows now that she's not the main target. I'm sure in some regard it's got to be Corey, because Corey is more out in front than she is. I think if America gets to the end, she's enough of a personality that she could probably sway them and probably convince them. But she's got to get there. And I see more of a path and a trajectory for Suri than I do for America, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't make it.
Yeah, I think if Suri makes to the end, she's winning. But like, I honestly, it sucks because this is how her Micronesia game went. But I could see her getting third place, and I'm just like so upset about it. But I really do think though, Matt or Jag, I think that'd be a really fun winner. I mean, Jag.
I would love to see Matt. Matt.
But I think Matt is right now who I would put my money on. But anything could happen. Anything could happen. Expect the unexpected. We're gonna get a Bowie Jane Felicia final too. Just watch it.
I would die.
So Zach, who has the recipe for reality this week across all the shows?
Oh gosh, Jeff Probst, baby, he's back on my screen, and that's really all I care about. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And Julie Cheng's new haircut.
Oh my God, it was a wig. I think. I hope. So my recipe for reality is actually going for Gary, the Bachelor, the Golden Bachelor.
Yes.
We haven't talked about it because we don't cover Bachelor Nation anymore just because of time. But I loved the premiere of the Golden Bachelor. I watched that and Bachelor in Paradise. Bachelor in Paradise is tough because I didn't get to see the Charity season or Zach season, so like I didn't get to know all these people. So right. I only know like Bachelorette Rachel and then Eliza and then Will, and that's it. But on Golden Bachelor, I mean, first 5 minutes, it's like up. It's all about the story about how he and his wife fell in love and then he lost her. And I was bawling like a baby. And then throughout the episode, you're getting these stories from all these different women too. Some of them who have lost their husbands or have been searching for love or have gone through heartbreak. I think the toughest thing is going to be watching this guy send all these old sweet ladies home.
Suck. It's going to suck hard.
I love it. I think it's amazing. I think also because it's so genuine, it's not really there about drama. There's one girl who's clearly there to stir up drama, the one with the eggs, who was like, I still have my eggs. And it was like, all right, okay. Like she's kind of coming across as like the one who's going to stir up the drama there. But like, I think everyone there is so sincere and so genuine. And I love the group of women there for him. And I really like this idea of someone later in life finding that second love, that forever love. I love it. Oh my gosh, I'm such a fan of it.
I am excited.
Have you watched the premiere yet or no?
No.
Okay, I suggest watching at least the premiere because it's so beautiful. It's only an hour too, which is a great thing. Bachelor Nation, give us hour-long episodes. I love it because you have time now with the writer's strike ending, but them needing to write the scripts now. You have time to just like let it draw out. Don't give us 3-hour episodes for a month. Give us 1-hour episodes for 3. But yeah. Gary the Bachelor is getting the Golden Bachelor is getting my recipe for reality. So you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo at Twitter, otherwise known as X. You can find me at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Yesterday I posted 2 videos, a frame wreck and a picture of this, and today you're getting a recipe for reality. Tomorrow you're getting Marvelous Movie Mondays. It's a big weekend. This guy's going to compete in a tournament very soon that was crafted by his faction mate Matt Fisto, where Zach was rigged the #1 seed, and we'll see how he does in the tournament.
Rigged? I don't know what you're talking about.
Zach, where can I find you?
Below here at the thing on Twitter, not X. It will never be X. No, but for real, you can also, if you're looking to watch one of your favorite orgs play, your favorite recipe for reality host play some online Survivor. I'm playing Premier Survivor right now. It's an Avatar: The Last Airbender theme. We are in final 16 right now. And I'm going to record a challenge later today, dressed as Avatar characters. So.
Oh my God, that's amazing! Which one are you dressed as? Can you tell?
I will be both Aang and Zuko.
Interesting. I can't wait to see that. Yeah. So thanks for watching, everyone. I know this was a long one. They've been long because there's a lot of stuff to cover.
There's a lot to cover. A lot for us to do.
Next time we'll cover Survivor again, and we'll cover Big Brother, what's going on there, and we'll also give you our Dancing with the Stars scores for the first 2 weeks. We are very excited. So good luck in your show, Zach. You're opening soon, right?
Next week.
1 week. Yeah,
Hope for my
baby.
voice to feel better. It's all sickness is
I hear the
abound.
nasal, but the
Season.
resonance
Fair
is
enough.
still there. So I will talk to you later, and we'll see y'all later. Thanks, guys.